All right, guys, that's already in the queue. Looks like you're already raising your hand, so thanks for that. Coach, without further ado, we're going to get started here with Mark Narducci with the Inquirer.
Hey Doc, I wanted to ask you about Furkan Korkmaz and basically what you see as his role. And I know there's a lot of competition among wings for minutes on this team, and just maybe where you see where he fits in.
I love what he can do. Obviously, Mark is tough, not having had a practice yet, just doing individual workouts. But Furkan is extremely skilled basketball player with size, shoots the ball, can dribble the ball, can play pick and roll, moves, has a very, very high basketball IQ. You can see that, still young. So I think Furkan is going to be a very big piece to what we do this year.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we'll go to Paul Hudrick of 97.3.
Hey, Doc. Just curious, you have obviously a unique relationship with Seth Curry. Just how you felt the night the trade was made, and then if you maybe see him as having a bigger role as far as ball handling than he maybe had in Dallas, maybe expanding that role here.
Yeah, I think we'll expand the role. I mean, I think most people don't realize is that Luka had the ball in his hands actually more than James Harden had the ball in his hands. So when you have a dominant player like that, you don't touch the ball as much. Yet, whenever Luka didn't have the ball in his hands, I thought Dallas played through Seth a lot, especially in pick and rolls. He's playing against them in the playoffs. We were as scared of his shot as scared of his drives. His drives killed us. So he's a clever basketball player. And so we plan on using his strengths, bottom line.
Thank you.
Let's toss it to Tim Reynolds with the AP.
Hey, Doc. Nice to see you again.
Well, I don't see you, Tim, which is no fair, but yeah.
It's probably better that way for both of us. Obviously, the election is over, but
it is.
Well, depends who you ask.
Yeah.
How do you hope that the commitment to societal change, social change, ending police brutality, just finding more racial harmony in this country, it was an obvious talking point in the bubble, and a lot of that was fueled by the election. Now that November is over, maybe not. Now that November's over, how do you hope that continues to manifest across the league going forward?
Well, we got to hold people accountable for some of the promises that were made. I think that's number one. But I also think it's really important that we stay engaged. It takes a village, right? Not just to raise a child, but to get things done. It takes a community to get things done. And so just because, in some cases, the election went our way, we can't forget that 70 million people voted the other side as well. And so we have a country that is extremely divided, and that's not okay. Like we got to try to unify this country and still get some of the social things done that are the most important things. And again, I don't even use the word social justice. I use the word human rights. There's some things that just shouldn't happen, because of the color of your skin. That's just a human rights issue. And so we have to keep our eye on the ball. We have to stay engaged. The players have to stay engaged. We can't be, as I told a couple of our players today, Milli Vanilli. We can't be one-hit wonders that aren't true. We have to stay with it and follow through.
Next up is going to be Noah Levitt with NBC Sports Philly.
Hey, Doc. You mentioned that you'd like to increase the pace for this team.
Yeah.
Now that you essentially have your roster and your coaching staff, how exactly do you plan to go about doing that? Is it messaging? Is it drawing up some quick hitting actions that works? What's the approach there?
Well, messaging is always important because we have to tell them how we want to play. Identity is important. We have to show them what we should look like every night and get our guys to buy into that and believe into that. And then structural as far as offensively, advancing the ball and getting the ball up the floor has to be something that's worked on every day. You cannot take it for granted. You can't even take for granted who takes the ball out. If you want the ball up quick, we got to make sure the right people are taking the ball out, the right people are running their lanes. You'll hear a lot about running your lane, staying in your path, due to spacing issues. And so that'll be taught.
Thanks.
Let's go to Keith Pompey with the Inquirer.
Hey, what's up, Doc? How you been, man?
I'm great.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. That's great to hear. Doc, when you look at your team, right, you have shooters. You guys went out and got shooters in the draft. But it seems like you also focused on defensive-minded coaches as well. So when you look at this team right now, what's your identity? What do you want your identity to be?
Yeah, Keith, it's a great question. And I have my own thoughts that I will not share yet because I want to make sure we get in the gym. I call it the lab. You got to get in there first. And the identity has to be what they believe it is, not what I wanted it to be. I know that we should be a great defensive team. I know that, Keith. And so if we start with that, but you win with balance. Teams that have won the title have been in the top 10 or top 5 in either offense or defense, and in the top 10 in either offense or defense. So you have to have great balance. And so that's what we're going to strive for. We want to be a great defensive team and a great offensive team. We want to be top 10 in both. And if we can do that, historically, that would say we're one of the elite teams. And so it's going to take an elite effort to get there.
And just for a follow-up question, I mean, you've been coaching for over 20 years. You played in the league for a long time. How unique is this situation where you have you're a new coach, you have a new coaching staff, the players on the team, you would like to see how they played, and you brought in new players. Is it like, do you feel like you're playing catch up or something?
Yeah, it's a concern, Keith. If I have had one concern is that, and I've talked to several other coaches, but I know a lot of coaches that have still been with their franchise and how easy it is for them. Taking a job during this year of COVID is brutal. I will just throw that and say that it's brutal. And then making the changes because we haven't had a chance to be in the gym with our guys. We can't even put in our stuff or nothing. And then you got like a week and a half and you're in action, So I'll say this, we're going to simplify things as much as possible. It clearly wouldn't be what I would do if it was normal circumstances, but it is what it is. And teams like Boston and Milwaukee and Miami that are already set, they have an advantage. And so we're fine with that. We just have to make up the deficit, and we probably have to do it through work.
Thanks, Doc.
Next up is Kristen Rogers with Fox 29.
Hey, Doc, you just touched on this a little bit, but can you take us through your checklist for what you want to see from your guys during camp? Again, new team, new players, and obviously this unprecedented short preseason with just those 2 games. Yeah,
Kristen, it's tough because your checklist will be kind of manifests itself instead of like if it was a normal training camp, you would already have your checklist. Some of them would be checked. Like normal training camp, Kristen, I'd come in day 1 and know who's in shape and who's not. COVID training camp, you really don't know because right now all we can do is one-on-one stuff, so that's not real basketball conditioning. Someone can look like they're in shape and not be. So I would say, honestly, the first thing is what's our conditioning level at? And the reason that's important is because of injury. You don't want to be working on something the guys literally physically can't maintain. And so I would say conditioning would be first, and then defense and where we're at, just getting our defense philosophy and who we're going to be every night would be second. And then third is how we play offensively, how we should play and look every night.
Next up, we'll go to Kyle. Kyle Neubeck, go ahead.
Hey, Doc. So historically, your teams have typically had a veteran guard who sort of establishes the second unit. You had a Lou Williams, a Jamal Crawford, even dating back to Boston. You have Sam Cassell, Eddie House, guys like that who can both score and play make. Do you feel like you have somebody like that on the roster right now, or is that going to be a process of growing somebody into that role this year?
Yeah, it'll probably be a process. I've had a lot of luck with really good second unit guards. I think we have that. I think Shake, number one, right when I took the job, Shake is where my focus has been. I got to let him play even freer, which is crazy. I will say when I told him that, he was very happy with that news. I told him I would hold him far more accountable defensively than I did for Jamal and Lou, for sure. But Shake has that ability in him. Furkan has another ability in him as far as, and maybe using them as a combination of scores coming off the bench would be terrific for us.
Next up, let's go to Cassidy Hubbard with ESPN.
Hi, Coach.
What's up, Cassidy?
Oh, it's good to see you, even though I'm sorry you can't see me.
That's all right. Let's go back to the bubble.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. The bubble situation.
No, thank you.
Well, when you were in Orlando, you said you underestimated the impact of the bubble.
Yeah.
How it was, impacting your players. But going into this situation where it's not a bubble and the threat of the virus and shutdowns is hanging over the league like a cloud, like what are you most concerned about? And is there anything you've learned in the bubble that you're focusing on applying to the start of the season?
Well, it is a little different because now we're at home and we are with our family and friends. We can order and eat wherever we want to, that whichever restaurants are still serving are open. So there is a little more freedom. Having said that, that's my concern at the same level. The food's not my concern. I'm thrilled to death about that. But the freedom is a concern. Like, man, I tell you, Cassie, I guess I'm very concerned if we can pull this off. Just watching football, college, Ohio State, missing games, Pittsburgh and Baltimore can't even play a game. They can't get to it. Hopefully they play Wednesday now. The difference in football, they play once a week and they have 1,000 players. So, when you miss 3 or 4 players, you can still get away with it. If we miss 3 or 4 players, we're in trouble, especially with the amount of games. We're playing 3 and 4 games a week. So, if one of our guys or 2 of our key guys get the virus and they miss 10 days to 14 days, that could be 8 games in a 72-game season. That can knock you out of the playoffs. So that's a concern. Our guys' health is a concern, and that's tough. As a coach, you want to go into your team concerns being more basketball. And I think every coach's concerns right now is probably non-basketball.
How much of that 143-page memo have you gotten through?
Yeah, I'm still on page 1.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, I'm looking for the cliff notes.
Thanks.
Let's go to Dan Gelston with the AP.
How you doing, Doc? Ben and Joel obviously are already all-stars, already fantastic players, but they each have some flaws that I guess have kept them from reaching true greatness, season-long greatness. How do you try and unlock it with them? How do you try and unlock the keys, the issues they both have, whether it's shooting, whether it's conditioning? Have you talked to them? What do you hope to do? And are there other instances where you've been able to reach superstars and kind of fix their flaws, so to speak?
Yeah, listen, there's clearly instances where I've reached superstars and there's probably somewhere I haven't, that's just part of coaching for 20 years. You have an opportunity with a lot of people. I think it helps having experience with a lot of different personalities. Ben Singular and Joel Singular are unbelievable basketball players, and they've proven that. And what they have to do is win. Like, that's why we're all here, right? And so it's amazing how they haven't won together. And I said, well, the yet should be the word that we use more. They haven't won yet. They're young, they have time, and they have time to work. And I love what they both bring. I love that the biggest thing, seeing them in the gym, is their IQs. You know, they are both brilliantly smart basketball players. And so that really will help in our growth process as trying to win together. They can do it. They will do it. The yet is what we have to take away. And that, you know, I can't tell you when that's going to be, but it's going to happen. They're terrific. So conditioning, we have to get in shape. Listen, every player that says they want to win a championship, then there's required things you have to do. It's just required to win. And one of them is conditioning. And so we're going to get everybody in the best shape possible. Obviously with COVID, it makes it double tough. You know, I don't care about Ben shooting as much as so many other people seem to care about it. I care that he's a great player, and I'm going to let him play. I'm going to give him the keys and let him be free and play. If he takes no shots, I'm fine. If he takes 10 threes, I'm fine. If he gets to the line 15 times, I'm fine. Ben is brilliant enough for me to allow to play and not get in his way and try to cloud his head up with a bunch of crap. You know, it's about winning. And that's what I want Ben to focus on, how to make each other better and win.
Thank you.
Next up, we got Rich Hoffman from The Athletic.
Hey, Doc, I was curious, with Daryl making a lot of moves in the offseason, it seemed like one of the main focuses was to add shooting to Ben and Joel. I was just curious, you as the coach, watching that happen, you know, what your thought was and, you know, how he and the front office kind of attacked that offseason.
Yeah, I mean, we did it together. So we were a team. And Daryl wouldn't have done any of those things without me sitting next to him and Elton sitting next to him. And so it's been our team, meaning that front office team, has so far, we've worked phenomenally well together. And we've had some tough debates, you know, giving up guys, without saying which one of the trades, but we had some really long, hard debates where the room was split. And we had to come to an agreement on things. And we did that. And once we pulled the trigger, everybody was happy. So that's the way front offices have to work, Rich, at least the ones that have been successful. The ones that are successful are in lockstep with each other. And the ones that aren't, they have that one guy that thinks he's smarter than everybody else and does what he wants to do. And usually it doesn't work that way. So I love where we're at as an organization.
But specifically with the shooting that you guys have added.
Yeah, we needed it. I needed to create space for Ben and Joel. I want Ben to play and be able to go downhill and play. And I want Joel to work in space. And so we definitely have spacers on our team.
All right. Next, we're going to go to Kevin Kinkade with Crossing Broad.
Hey, Doc. Brett Brown's offense was kind of unique in the fact that there was very little pick and roll, not a lot of ISO. I think they were like bottom 2 pick and roll ISO team in the last couple of years. Yeah, Ben and Joel have really only played in one offensive system their entire NBA career, motion offense. I mean, do you think there's going to be a learning curve there for them to learn some different concepts or come out of that style and play something a little bit different?
Yeah, it will be. And that's, again, too bad that we're doing it now, obviously, with the short, time. And so we're going to be very careful in what we do so we don't overthink this. And I don't want them out on the floor thinking right now. We have some time together. But I guarantee you we'll run more pick and rolls. And I guarantee you'll see more pick and rolls with Ben and Joel in them, So, but I like a lot of the stuff they ran in the past too. They had some pretty good movement stuff. And so we want to make sure that because of this shortened preseason, shortened training camp, and quick first game, that we don't try to do too much. We want to make them as comfortable as possible.
I mean, just as a quick follow-up, do you think with Tobias, then you can do a lot of the stuff you did with him in Los Angeles with this roster here?
Yeah, I think almost easier in some stretches. And, Tobias and I have obviously talked a ton since me taking the job. First thing we got to get him back to being is a quick decision player. I told him, I saw him dribbling way too much. And Tobias is so darn skilled going downhill, left and right. And we need get back to taking advantage of that.
Guys, we're going to have time for 4 more here, starting with John Clark with NBC.
Hey, Doc, that was exactly what I was going to ask you about with Tobias Harris. So I guess I'll ask about conversations you've had with Ben Simmons and kind of maybe a leadership role that he has to have as your point guard, if you're going to have him as your point guard on the floor and things like that.
Well, we've had a lot about that. The leadership thing I don't kind of worry about right now. I kind of let that manifest itself through his play, through his practice habits and his example. But because he's going to have the ball in his hands so much, he has to have an understanding every night of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get. And he has to be able to communicate that to everybody on the floor. So he has to become a great studier of our offense, of the opponent's defense. He has to know every single position on the floor and understand where everybody should be. And he has to vocalize that. And so he will do that. Ben is a great decision maker. Is it been a point guard? Honestly, I don't care. I don't even know that yet, John. But I know one thing, if you can get him in space going downhill, the ball gets to the right place. And so we want to do that as much as we can.
Thank you.
Next up is Steve Aschburner with NBA.com.
Hi, Doc. Can you hear me?
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Leave it to the Marquette guy to want Cliff Notes.
Hey, I know. We were taught well, Steve. We were taught well.
Exactly. I'm thinking of the rookies here. No summer league, no 3+ months to get acclimated to this.
Yeah.
They basically have had 2 weeks to find out who they're going to work for and what part of the country they're going to live in. Can you imagine what it's like for this, this process for new guys, and what can coaches do and what can the players do to sort of navigate this?
Man, I don't know, Steve. It's a hard one with our rookies. They're all in now, doing their individual workouts. It's so separated right now. I mean, just think on the first day of camp, our rookies probably won't know the other players on the team. When you think of it in that terms, that's insane. And I guarantee you, they won't know them. The veterans, the Dwight Howard and Joel, they're going to come in with this guy, and hey, my name is Maxie. I mean, it's going to be that type of scene. And then as coaching staffs, you've been in the NBA, Steve, probably longer than me, which makes you really old. Listen, you don't wait, you get going. And so we're going to throw these guys right in the fire. In some ways that may be good. They don't overthink, and some will struggle. I think for the rookies this year, the mental toughness factor will be gigantic.
Thank you.
Next up is Pat Gallen with CBS.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, Pat.
With the rotation, obviously everything is so condensed.
Yeah.
How long do you think in this sort of situation would you like to have to be able to craft the rotation? And how long do you think you have, with it being 2 preseason games and a 72-game schedule?
Well, I can tell you this, I won't have it by game 1. It's just impossible. Pat, in this case, I don't know, because some of this will be guys still trying to work themselves into great condition. And so you don't see their best. Some, maybe the system, it takes time for them to figure it out. So, man, I don't have a date or I would prefer by game 1, but that's not going to happen. I'm realistic about that. So it's just going to be something that kind of happens through the season.
Thanks.
All right, so we're going to have time for one more from Derek Bodner with The Athletic. Go ahead, Derek.
Hey, Doc. So one sort of type of player that Ben and Joel have both had success for in the past is sort of like a guard who can fly off of screens and shoot from the perimeter.
Yeah.
Seth Curry, is that something where you think he can grow, add a higher usage of that to his game, or is that sort of tougher for shooters to add?
Well, there's no JJ Reddicks, you know, with that speed and that pace, but Seth can do a lot of those things, and so can Furkan, and so can Shake, you know. So I think we have three guys, in my opinion, that have the chance to do some of that, and I think we have to do that. I thought Brett ran some great stuff with JJ and Joel and Ben, and now we have these three guys that we can probably use some of that stuff to work for us as well.
Great. Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Coach. Everybody, thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you later for FurCon. Thanks a lot.